A reading from the first book of Maccabees. Judas and his brother said, "Now that our enemies have been crushed, let us go up to purify the sanctuary and rededicate it." So the whole army assembled and went up to Mount Zion. Early in the morning, on the 25th day of the 9th month, that is, the month of Kislev, in the year 148, they arose and offered sacrifice according to the law on the new altar of burnt offerings that they had made. On the anniversary of the day on which the Gentiles had defiled it, on that very day it was reconsecrated, with songs, harps, flutes, and cymbals. All the people prostrated themselves and adored and praised heaven, who had given them success. For 8 days they celebrated the dedication of the altar, and joyfully offered burnt offerings and sacrifices of deliverance and praise. They ornamented the facade of the temple with gold crowns and shields. They repaired the gates and the priest's chambers and furnished them with doors. There was great joy among the people now that the disgrace of the Gentiles was removed. Then Judas and his brothers and the entire congregation of Israel decreed that the days of the dedication of the altar should be observed with joy and gladness on the anniversary every year for 8 days, from the 25th day of the month Kislev. The word of the Lord.
The responsorial psalm. The response is, "We praise your glorious name, Almighty God." Blessed may you be, O Lord, God of Israel, our Father, from eternity to eternity. We praise your glorious name, Almighty God. Yours, O Lord, are grandeur and power, majesty, splendor, and glory, for all in heaven and on earth is yours. We praise your glorious name, Almighty God. Yours, O Lord, is the sovereignty. You are exalted as head over all. Riches and honor are from you. We praise your glorious name, Almighty God. You have dominion over all. In your hand are power and might. It is yours to give grandeur and strength to all. We praise your glorious name, Almighty God.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. Jesus entered the temple area and proceeded to drive out those who were selling things, saying to them, "It is written, 'My house shall be a house of prayer,' but you have made it a den of thieves." And every day he was teaching in the temple area. The chief priests, the scribes, and the leaders of the people, meanwhile, were seeking to put him to death. But they could find no way to accomplish their purpose, because all the people were hanging on his words. The Gospel of the Lord.
The first reading is from 1 Maccabees 4, 36 to 37, and 52 to 59. Remember, Antiochus Epiphanes, the emperor of the Seleucid Empire, had decreed that the Jewish faith would no longer be practiced. And so the Syrian authorities in Jerusalem desecrated the temple. They sacrificed unclean animals upon the altar. They made it into an abomination. Judas, who's one of the sons of Mattathias, Judas Maccabees, is part of the rebellion against the Syrians. They captured the temple and they rededicated. This occurs on the 25th day of the 9th month, in the month of Kislev. It's the feast that we today call Hanukkah. Hanukkah is the celebration of the rededication of the temple after the persecution that the Jewish people had undergone by the Seleucid Empire. And remember the story of Hanukkah. There was only enough oil for 1 day for the lamps, but miraculously the oil was extended so that it burned all throughout the 8 days. That's why in the candelabra that's dedicated to Hanukkah, called a Hanukkiah, there are 9 lamps. The 8 for the feast, plus 1 lamp to recognize that miracle. The Gospel is from Luke 19, 45 to 48. In this passage, we hear how Jesus cleanses the temple. He says that the leaders of the Jews have made it into a house of thieves. Remember, there were certain things that were needed in the temple, such as money changers, such as vendors of animals. Money changers, because people who came from a distance couldn't give their pagan coins in the collection in the temple. Their pagan coins had images of the emperor, of pagan gods, so they were considered unclean. So they had to change those coins for shekels, which had no pagan images upon them and would be accepted by the temple. Likewise, if they came from a distance, they couldn't bring their sacrifice, their sheep, their birds, whatever it was. They had to buy it once they got to the temple. So these things were necessary, but that which was necessary has become the center of what the temple is. More energy is dedicated to the merchandising than to the worship. And this is where we have to remember in all of our faith communities that God and worship should be the center, and monetary questions and all those other things should be secondary. And may God bless us.